Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be bringing you an update on the story of the mom who abandoned her children and ran off with the fella that you see on the screen here. This is a very, very clear case of wickedness personified. The details of this story are so horrendous. I actually had to pull myself together after looking at this, because some things, we hear these things all the time, but some of us don't grow numb to these things. We don't grow numb to it at all. It's very difficult looking into the eyes of these two evil people. Remember this, I always, from time to time, quote this specific scripture that helps you to understand what's going on in this world, and that scripture is, "We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high," and I also include low places, high and low places, against principalities and powers of darkness. When you look at these two individuals, what they were able to do is horrible. I'm going to say especially the mother, because she should have known better. Now, of course, the act of violence that the man did against a child is utterly horrendous. But what this mother sat back and allowed and continued to stay with this man, that is beyond imagination. Anyway, I'm going to let you all listen to the update on this story, and I'll be right back.
We're covering a very disturbing case out of West Harris County now.
Late yesterday, a mother and her boyfriend were arrested after remains of a child were found. 35-year-old Gloria Williams has been charged with injury to a child by omission, and 31-year-old Brian Coulter has now been charged with murder. Williams' family says they haven't spoken with her in months. It's a story you'll see only on 2.
How did we get to this? How could you not reach out and just be like, y'all, I've lost control. It's not in a good space. And we would have taken all of the kids.
The children had been living with their brother's skeletal remains for nearly a year. We have team coverage for you tonight. Rochelle Turner has more on the investigation.
But we begin now with Taisha Walker with the story you'll see only on 2. Taisha, what else did the family have to say to you?
Lauren, the family says Williams basically was estranged, that they would hear from her on and off. Her number was always different, as well as her address. In fact, they said they didn't even know that the family was staying at this apartment complex, because the last time they met them over the summer, it was just the boyfriend who came outside of the apartment complex, a 15-minute drive away.
I seen the news or the news article about the kids, but I never thought it was her.
Christy Smith and everyone sitting on this couch is related to Gloria Williams. The 35-year-old mother of 6 is charged with injury to a child and tampering with evidence, while her 31-year-old boyfriend is facing murder for the death of her 8-year-old son, Kendrick. Harris County deputies say Kendrick was beaten and his corpse was left to decompose for 11 months inside of an apartment the couple abandoned to live elsewhere.
Kendrick was autistic. To my knowledge, when he would come around our family, all he did was smile.
Cousin Yasmin Craig says Kendrick was mostly nonverbal. She says as a family, they offered to raise Kendrick when he was younger, but William refused.
My mom has been asking for Kendrick since the day he was born. All because we knew that all these kids, eventually, she was not going to be able to be the best parent she can be.
Family members say Williams had 6 kids, including the 3 surviving boys who were also living in the apartment, and 2 girls, whom she no longer has parental rights. Melody Robinson has full custody of the youngest daughter and says CPS told her this late last year.
Because Gloria gave up her rights to her and she failed the first child, that they would be going in to take all the other 4 boys.
The family says Williams was estranged, only reaching out for money, always saying the kids were fine.
Anytime we did go help, where the kids at, how they doing? Oh, they in school.
Yeah, it was always.
So we never had an apartment number. She always be like, okay, I'm gonna meet y'all at the front of the apartment.
Another question so many viewers have been asking, aside from where was extended family, they wanted to know, how was Williams able to pay the rent here with these kids living here by themselves? The family members that I spoke with say they believe with disability checks that she was receiving for some of the kids. We do know not only Kendrick had autism, but another one of those 4 boys that was living inside of the apartment complex behind me. Reporting live in Alief, Taisha Walker, KPRC 2 News.
Okay, now that update, it told a whole lot of background of what was going on in this woman's life. Looking at her, she seemed to be a magnet for demons, because in order for her to accept a man like this in her life and in the lives of her children, she had to be a magnet for demons. Because looking into his eyes, if you are able to even bear it, it is clear that there is something that's going on. And one thing that I want to point out is the obvious. Look at who he killed. A little helpless little black boy who was autistic, who was non-verbal, not a threat to anyone, a little child. I want to point out something, and those of you who don't like for us to talk about racial subjects or topics, then you are one of those who likes to gaslight and hide history and pretend as if we're not supposed to talk about these things. I get that from people of all races. Well, I'm going to specifically say black and white, because this is who it's dealing with right now. I get black and white people who act as if we're not supposed to talk about these things. Of course, the black people are more of the Christian persuasion, where they believe that we're supposed to forgive and forget every heinous thing that has ever happened to us by other races, and that we're just supposed to grovel with love and affection for people who can't stand us. Okay? Then for the white people, they say that people like me are the reason why racism continues. Because we talk about our pain and our suffering as a people. You say that people like me are the reason why racism continues. That sounds like a symptom of Wetiko. And the reason why I say this is because how is it that me talking about what someone has done to a so-called black person, how is it that me talking about it is more contributing to racism than the person who commits a heinous act of violence against a person of color or so-called black person? How is that just as bad or worse? I'm just talking about it. What about the act? I never hear these kind of people talk about the act of violence. They never denounce the act of violence, but how dare you open up your mouth to talk about it? But anyway, let me get on this mother here. For her to allow a man who his people historically has despised, specifically the black man, you put him over your son as what, a potential father? Now let me say this. I know there have been some cases and situations. I like to be fair on my channel, okay? And some of y'all ain't gonna like this, but I like to be fair, and I'm just gonna keep it real right there. I know that there are some cases where a white male has taken in a black child and has been a good father to that black child. I know of those cases. I know of some personally, okay? But we're not talking about that right now. I just wanted to point that out for those of you who come and say, well, not all are like this. I get that from everyone. They want you to focus on the fact, they want you to specifically say in every video that not all, not all, not all, as if they don't comprehend that you don't mean all. That is really a diversionary tactic to keep you from focusing on the subject at hand. That is the art of deflection at work. But how could this woman, I'm getting back to this now, how could this woman put such an evil looking man over her children? And let me tell you this, if this child was beaten to death, you can best believe, trust and believe, that this was not the first time. Okay, family. And this is one of those things where I pray to y'all to help me to deal with these things better, because these kinds of things really, they weigh heavy on you because you love your people. And so, as a mother, I think about the little boy and how he couldn't have possibly been doing anything. It's just that man probably looked at this baby and he was probably enraged at just looking at this little black boy. Rage probably came over him, and it's like the evil bursted out at the seams when he took this baby's life. And for this wicked woman, you're that desperate and detached to where you would allow such a demon in your children's lives. And then you leave the babies, you leave them, and you run off with this buzzard. Sometimes, family, I'm just going to be honest with y'all, I can't say what I really want to say on these videos sometimes because YouTube is heavily censored. It is heavily censored. But for this woman to walk off, we're not talking about children who are old enough to fend for themselves. You left young babies to fend for themselves while you went off gallivanting with this devil. Okay, and for those of you who like to hold on to the curses, I'm fully aware that the curses have brought our people here, but it was never meant for it to be a crutch. It was never meant for the curses to be a crutch for us to lean on every time something like this happens and say, well, it only happened because of the curses. Okay, whatever. We are fully aware why these things are happening. Okay? But it's not a crutch. It's not an excuse. For this woman to allow this heinous creature over her children shows that she herself could not have possibly loved her children. And for those of you who say you don't know that Deborah, well, she didn't prove this at all in my book. This ain't what love looks like. If you want to have more sympathy for her, if you want to sympathize with her, maybe this is not the channel for you. But when I think of that little boy's face, and I look at these two devils sitting here, and what this baby, let me tell y'all something. For her to be so detached to where you would let your other children sit up around this baby while he's decomposing, what kind of demon do you have to have in you to allow such wickedness? You got to be just a demon, a hotel, not a motel, a hotel. They inhabit every inch of both of their bodies for you all to know that this baby is in the apartment decomposing. I'm done with this story, family. I am done. I'm finished with this story. Remember in the comment section to keep it tight and keep it right. Until next time. We hope you liked today's topic. Please leave your comments below. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, share it like this video, and with that, we're out. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.